Boom! Hey, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the difference between being a loser and feeling like a loser because they're two totally different experiences, and I want to help you distinguish them because losers are real. They're very, very real, and we all run a very real risk of becoming a loser. And I want to clear all that up because there's a lot of people saying like, oh, there's no such thing as loser. Loser's a made up thing. Like, you can't ever be a loser. It's like, fuck that. You can be a loser. And anyone telling you that you can't be a loser is probably selling you something. And even though I'm also selling you something, I want to sell you something genuine. So we're going to start talking about what a loser actually is, and then how to distinguish being a loser from feeling like a loser, and how that distinction will actually save you from becoming a loser. So here we go. What's a loser? Somebody who loses a lot. Somebody who habitually, compulsively, and unconsciously just fucks things up for themselves, for other people, for those around them, and they just ruin life. That's a loser. And I'm sure we all meet them. Maybe you have someone in your family. Maybe you've had an ex that was a loser. Maybe you've got some loser-like tendencies. I know I sure do. I fuck things up all the time. I'm not nearly as bad as I used to be. I used to be an actual loser where I would just just ruin things for myself all the time. That was kind of my main MO. And even if you are a loser right now, like even if you actually identify as like you just keep messing things up and you don't know why, like even if that is your worldview, it's not permanent. So by the end of this video, you'll know how to get out of it. But the point is that that's a very real thing to try to avoid. Losers are real. You could easily become one. Let's make sure you don't become one. So now we're going to distinguish being a loser from feeling like a loser, right? Because a lot of us feel like losers when we make minor mistakes or things like that. But if being a loser is like almost like a lifestyle, it's like a habitual way of being where you just completely mess things up until you're alienated from your family and nobody likes being around you anymore and you can't keep a job and God knows what else you've messed up. If that's what a loser actually is, like somebody who's kind of set in their ways as being that, which again, you could potentially be. So could I. Feeling like a loser is when you're going in a positive direction and you make a mistake and you judge yourself as if you already are that thing. You think, wow, if I keep going like this, I'll become that thing. And so you judge yourself as if you already were, which is valuable to do on some level. On some level, it's good to know the thing you're aiming away from and how to aim away from it. And to be like, whoa, okay, if we keep doing this, we could become that. That's good to know. Very, very valuable. Now, the other way that you're helping yourself and hurting yourself at the same time is I'm willing to bet that if calling yourself a loser or a failure or a disappointment or a fuck up or any variation of that, if that's a thing that goes through your head fairly commonly or regularly, I think for me it's fuck up. I think it is. I'm pretty sure. Anyways, if that's something that goes through your head fairly regularly when you make mistakes or when you actually do fail or when you actually do lose, then it's probably already a part of your worldview. You probably already think you are that. And so the problem here is that it's going to occur to you as in your best interest to validate that worldview. Like if you already think you're a loser, then you've created a worldview that you know how to function inside of the role of being a loser. You know, like, okay, I'm safe because I know I'm a loser. I know how a loser acts. I know how a loser thinks. I know how a loser treats people. I know the boundaries and the borders of being a loser. I don't have to step into the unknown, which is somehow scarier than being really mean to myself. So you're trying to validate this worldview. And so this is actually how you become a loser, right? By either fighting against that worldview that you're trying to validate or by not doing anything about it and letting it win and just go stronger, right? Because it is a very real thing. And people become losers by already thinking they're losers and by not doing anything about it, right? So if you've got this worldview that you're a loser and then you keep doing things that affirm that worldview, which makes that worldview stronger, which makes you do more things that affirm that worldview, then you form this kind of like negative momentum and you form this like downhill snowball thing where you just like become more and more and more of what you think you are. to varying degrees depending on, your circumstances. And so that one's fairly obvious. You just keep going down that path unobstructed. Eventually, it's going to go to its natural end. Like, that makes sense. This isn't novel. But the thing that is fairly novel is the idea that fighting against feeling like a loser can also get you there, right? Because if that's a thing for you to fight against, then some part of you already sees it as valid. So you've got a chunk of your energy, probably a fairly decent one, a fairly decent sized chunk, dedicated to proving that you are a loser. And then all the other energy that you're spending to try to accomplish things or make friends or be creative or, have good sex or have fun or whatever it is for you, all that energy starts to get directed at proving that you're not a loser and like fighting this part of you that thinks you're a loser until this conflict gets bigger and bigger and bigger and out of control and starts to consume you. And next thing you know, you're a fucking loser. Because all of your energy got directed to that fight. And in order to keep up, this part of you that's trying to affirm your worldview in order to keep you safe, that is also you, has to get stronger as well. And next thing you know, you're just knee deep in a life you cannot stand. And you don't know how you got there and bad things are happening. So that's what a loser is. That's two ways to become a loser. And that's distinct from feeling like a loser, which is somebody who's on a positive path. They just sometimes, fuck up and then oh my God, I'm going to become that thing. And it's like, no, you're not going to become that thing if you're on a positive path. You're going to become that thing if you don't do anything at all or if you fight too hard against that part of yourself. So now, on to the very last point. How do you avoid actually becoming a loser? We know two ways to become it, and we know the difference between feeling like a loser and being a loser. Now, how do you avoid ending up as a loser? Very easy. You find, not easy, but simple. You find the part of yourself that already feels like a loser and you love the shit out of it, right? Because you're going to lose. You're going to fail. You're going to experience loss. You're going to fuck up. You're going to have all those things that you're afraid of happening, mistakes and failures and rejection and losses and all those things are inevitable. Think about your past. Think about how many times you tried to stop bad things from happening or tried to stop yourself from failing or tried to stop yourself from fucking up or getting rejected. Did it help? Did you still experience rejection? Did you still fail? Did you still fuck things up? Yes, you did. Across the board. We all did. And is it likely that you're going to do it again? Almost certainly you will do it again. So you get to choose, do I want to be at peace with the fact that that's going to happen and learn from it and understand that creating space for that part of myself and allowing myself to cooperate with it allows me to add the energy of this part of me that's trying to warn me from becoming a useless, terrible, depressed, miserable piece of shit, that this part of me that's designed to warn me against that can become an ally and become part of the energy that's pushing me in the direction that I want to go? Or am I so afraid of facing that fear that I'm going to redirect all of my healthy, good energy to fighting it so I never have to look at it again until that conflict gets so big that it swallows me whole? Those really are kind of your two options, other than the just completely checking out and letting your life go in whatever direction your unconscious programming lets you go. But if you're watching this video, I'm willing to believe that that's not really in the cards for you. So understanding that failure is inevitable is going to take a huge weight off of this, and you won't have to fight ever thinking thinking that you're a loser or a failure, because we all kind of are. We all lose and we all fail. So great. It's not an identity. It's an experience, which again is the difference between feeling like a loser and being a loser. One is a habitual way of being, and one is just an experience that you have when you have a setback. Not a problem at all. So in order to actually integrate the thing, you say, okay, I feel like a loser. And I know that feeling is designed to keep me away from becoming a loser, which I'm incredibly grateful for. I'd like to find the mistake that I made that if it goes unchecked, I will continue to drift in the loser direction. I'd like to take a look at this thing that's warning me inside my own head, my evolutionary biological neural framework that has been created for me over the course of millions of years of survival and evolution. I'm going to actually tune into it, see what the danger I think is, and correct my course so that I go in the direction that I want to go, using this terrible, fearful thing as an ally rather than as something that I need to fight against with everything that I have. And that will allow you to release the stress, release the worry, release the conflict inside yourself, be kind to yourself, find the value in the parts of yourself that seem like they don't have any value, and use it to your benefit so that you can have another internal ally. Now, I hope to God that made sense. I hope at least what you get is that losers are real. They genuinely exist. It is something to not want to become. It makes sense to steer away from that. And it makes sense to listen to your internal programming to help you do that. Instead of turning away from the fear, turn towards it. See what you're afraid of becoming. See what mistake you made that seems to have brought you closer to that, and rectify your behavior so that you can go in the direction that you choose to go in. Harmoniously, being nice to yourself, not having to fight, not having to create a conflict, but just getting along and being in harmony with yourself and essentially the world around you. So I hope to God that helped. I hope to God it made sense. If any of it didn't, then please let me know and I'll clarify any of it. If you want to get on the phone with me to talk about this personally, if you don't want to do this, in front of people or whatever, hit me up. I always offer free coaching sessions. First session for anybody. If we've never talked on the phone before, I will talk to you for up to an hour for free, and we'll get you a plan to figure out where you want to go from here. So I love you. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time.